So my name is Omar Rampersad. It's Tuesday, June 26, 2018 at 12:01 p.m. in Toronto. I stayed home today because yesterday during work I was getting heart palpitations and I got quite a few last night. Some really some really huge ones. So um, so I stayed away from work to get myself away from the stress. Um, as I said yesterday in my video that I posted on my YouTube channel and tweeted, um, the harassment has infiltrated the workplace. The harassment that's based on the community targeting. And there is information about the charge that went through against me that was dismissed. There is information about the case that's going on with the worker in the building for sexual harassment. I have him in a human rights tribunal case. That information is in the workplace. The contents about the of the case is being talked about at work, and I'm being harassed about it to the effect that I'm a prostitute. How could I put somebody in for sexual harassment because I'm supposedly be harassing him? Of course, I'm not a prostitute. So it's an open concept office. It's like the layout is like a warehouse and there are no walls. So everybody is in one huge space. So that's sales, that's customer service, that's accounting. So everybody's in one huge space. So you can hear everything that's said, being said. And people talk really, really loudly sometimes. They shout across the floor. Um, so, so there is that as well, which creates stress. Then the setup of the layout of the floor, because if you're doing accounting, you need to concentrate, obviously. There is ongoing attempt to have me mentally committed, and there are claims that's being put forth by all kinds of people who are taking part in this targeting that I'm mentally retarded. So just to give you an idea of what I do and my job. It's a junior job, and I took it because my brother passed away, and I didn't want to take on a very, very stressful job that I normally would as a financial analyst or a general accountant that has a lot of deadlines. It's a 6 month contract, and it's for accounts payable. So in a manufacturing environment. It involves troubleshooting, investigations by when suppliers call and ask for invoices to be paid. It filters down. You'd have to investigate why it's not being paid, and escalate the investigation. uh, you'd have to make sure that deadlines are met because there are deadlines in AP, but not as many. You'd have to match three-way matching the packing slips, the invoicing, the purchase orders. All these have to be matched, and each supplier, because it's a manufacturing environment, you have freight coming in, and there's a lot of items being bought to manufacture the goods, a lot of items. So there's a lot of shippers, there's a lot of items to be shipped, and so on. So there's a lot of errors that are made and a lot of coordination. So it's not a junior job. Well, let me rephrase that. It is a junior job in the sense that it's not general accounting, a full cycle accounting, but it's not something a mentally retarded person could do. Let me tell you. So there's a lot of coordination to be done. There's a lot of matching to be done. There's a lot of um, integrity checks that has to be done. Data entry. I call it data entry when you put the invoice in. For me, it's data entry, but you'd have to learn the system and understand the accounting that goes on behind the data entry in order to troubleshoot discrepancies when they arise. So this is not something a mentally retarded person could do. And I've been there, it's going on 4 weeks, and I'm not fired yet. So obviously I'm doing the job well, and without a lot of errors, or else I'd be hearing about it, and nobody has come to me and asked me about errors that I made. Um, well, okay, sorry. So there were the first day or two there were some errors, but week four, the number of errors has gone down, hardly any, which means that the learning curve has been climbed basically in less than 4 weeks. So this is not something a mentally retarded person could do. Plus the volume of invoices that are entered after matching and doing all the paperwork necessary to get the documentation together to the point where it can be entered into the system. If you're doing an average of about 50 invoices a day, after everything else has been done to get to the point of entry, then there is no mental retardation here. Absolutely no mental retardation. What I'm saying could be backed up by what's in the system under my ID. So there is proof of what I'm saying. I get up at 5 to reach to work for 9. I get home around 8 o'clock, 7:30 to 8. So the dedication to get to work is there, or else I wouldn't be getting up at 5 in the morning because I don't have my car right now. It takes me 2.5 hours, and if something's late, if there's a backup somewhere on the train, 3 hours. So that takes a lot of dedication and the wanting to work, the desire to work. It has to be there, and the discipline to get up at 5 has to be there. So there is no mental retardation, absolutely no mental retardation. Anybody who's saying this are lying, are targeting me, piggybacking on other reports made by people who are also targeting me because I'm a target. I'm supposed to be lied about. Um, so lack of evidence for the claims is evidence that I am being targeted, number one, and evidence that the people who are making these claims are taking part in the conspiracy to have me mentally committed because there is no evidence backing up their claims over and over and over and over again. The motivation to do this is to take part in the conspiracy, not because that there's any truth in the claims. There is community targeting is a conspiracy. If you put your name on the list and to be called a target, then that in itself is part of a conspiracy for you to be criminalized. That's the start of the conspiracy, and to be mentally committed. And the two goes hand in hand. So I just wanted to say that, and the consistency of claims being made without evidence, where people are saying, "I saw that, I could witness that, I swore a statement," but behind that swearing of the affidavit or the statement, there is no evidence to back it up. There is evidence, however, that the people who are doing this are accessing information about me, reports and so on, that are stating that I'm suspected of doing criminal acts. So they are piggybacking on this, taking part in the conspiracy because other than the sworn statement, there is no evidence to back it up. And time and time and time again for years, this is the truth. There is no evidence to back it up. I was pulled out of my home for a mental evaluation after being slammed against the wall by two 6 feet policemen, male, 4 feet 11, who thought they were in danger when I turned to put my hand on the door, on the handle to turn the door to get my shoes to put my shoes on because I was in my socks in the corridor. Who thought they were in danger when I did that is evidence of being targeted. Being charged with a crime I did not commit when I called 911 complaining that I was being harassed by two Muslim women with their faces covered, that I couldn't ID, and they said I was, and they made a statement saying that I said I was afraid of them. Actually, I was. Um, this is evidence that I'm being targeted. I obviously didn't stalk them because I didn't know who they were and I couldn't ID them. There was no stalking, but I was charged with stalking because they lied and said I was stalking them when they were actually harassing me as a prostitute, and I'm suspecting we're taking part in a sex slave trade, is taking part right now too. And they came after me on behalf of the slave operator, basically, because what they said to me was get out the store and go to the gym, right? So why would they be concerned about the way I look? Very good question. So these things are the charge that was laid against me. There was no evidence. There was a consistency, like as I said, in the past there was a consistency of not having real evidence, and there still is a consistency of not having evidence of the things that I'm suspected of. Of course, the charge was dropped because there was no evidence that I stalked these people, none whatsoever. In fact, all the evidence was to back up my claim that I was being harassed, but I was charged because I'm a target. And this is what happens to the targets. They're not believed and they're targeted. It doesn't have to have any real evidence. It just have to have a perception of something, to stretch it, to paint it, to get the charge to go through. And I almost died in their custody in the way I was arraigned and held for bail without cause. Cause was never shown in the court. It was all fixed. It was all fixed because I'm a target. Talk to you another time.